Hi guys, Irina here to my Lies Facebook challenge. Today I wanted to talk about how to stop self-criticism without losing your drive. Self-criticism is something that when I start working with a client, all clients have this, all people have it, as a matter of fact. And it's kind of like the first layer when we starting to be self-aware, self-reflective, we suddenly realize that, oh my God, there's this voice in my head that's constantly managing me, criticizing me, sometimes shaming me. And so a lot of times when people come to therapy, they start doing this self-awareness work, they become aware of this voice. So what's interesting is that some people, maybe who are more mental, we can say, they hear this critical voices as thoughts. So it would be little like thoughts or voice in the head, you can say, that would say, I can't believe you did this. I experienced this the other day where I was going to Pilates class, and I was kind of in a hurry, and I parked at a meter, and I thought I paid the fee for parking, but I was in a rush and I didn't see that the payment went through. And so when I came back to the car after Pilates, I saw that it didn't go through. In fact, I got a ticket. And so the voice in my head, well, for me, it's actually more somatic now, but there was, if I were to really make the voice in my head conscious, it would say something like, oh my God, I can't believe you got a parking ticket. Like, oh, shame on you. How could you not follow through and see that the payment went through? Why didn't you check? So now you have to pay this $35 parking ticket, and it's just, it's just not good. But for me, it's actually, and for some people who are more, I've done a lot of work of being in the body and really connected to my body and feeling things in my body. It's not even sometimes a voice in the head, this self-criticism. It's not like this thoughts that you have. It's just more like the sensation, like like a punch in a gut, punch in a stomach, like this sometimes feeling of shame or a discomfort that you just kind of like it's like this collapsing and like this very uncomfortable sensation in your body that happens. So for some people that could be self-attack. For some people, like I said, it's more thoughts, and some more somatic, like in the body. So I don't know, you can take a moment and reflect on what you have, because everyone of us has this part of our psyche. It's because that's what Freud called super ego, right? So it's a just all humans have it. It's a part of our critical thinking. So we need this. We need some kind of assessment and discernment and critical thinking. But what happens a lot of times, this part becomes very loud and very self-attacking. And so a lot of times when I start working with clients, they come in and they say, oh my God, like, or they start being aware that this voice is actually so loud, it's driving their life, it makes them feel bad. It's just this constant like underlying self-criticism, self-doubt. It's not letting them achieve their full potential, because it's constant like shame, constant feeling something is wrong with me. That this voice, this self-criticism, self-attack is manifesting in our life. And what a really not fun to live, right? Always having this voice. And so the first, we started like seeing this voice, and we start to see that, oh, okay, actually, this voice is making me do a lot of things. It's actually criticizing me and beating myself up, but it's also kind of motivating. And so we start tracking that, oh, actually, it sounds like because of that voice, I actually do a lot of things. And a lot of times there's this link of like, okay, I have this self-critical voice, but I also think that I really need it. I really need it to succeed. And then there's this attachment starts to happening to this voice, where you feel like if you don't have this voice in your head and self-criticism, you'll just become like this lazy blob on the couch, just like, if you're not gonna, so this is the fear, this is the common fear that people have. They feel like well, but okay, I have this self-attack. I constantly feel shame, not good enough, like something is wrong with me. But at the same time, isn't it like I need to have this voice? Otherwise, if I don't have it, if I work, if I, address it in therapy and I don't have it anymore, then I'll become this lazy blob on the couch. I'll be just eating. This is like the main fear that people have. If they let go of the self-criticisms, they'll just become so unmotivated, they become lazy, average, and they will fall behind. And that's, that's something to look at and investigate whether or not it's true. Because the cost of having self-attack is pretty high. So we all, me included, we really need to look at this self-aggression and self-attack and really sit with it and see how it's really affecting our life. Just to be really conscious of it and just bring awareness into this pattern. Because the truth is that the self-critical voice is using a lot of our own energy. It's making us tired. It's completely exhausting. It's contributes to burnout. This constant pressure that we put on ourselves contributes to not having energy, burnout, not feeling satisfied, exhausted, not feeling exhausted, satisfied, and really miserable, because we just it's really hard to sit outside. Like, even for me, when I notice, like, when I just want to sit for a moment, have a quiet moment, and have a tea on my deck and enjoy the sunset. Instead, I have this critical voice running in my head that's telling me, "Oh, you should go unload dishwasher. You should go clean, or I don't know, pick up clothes or toys from the floor." And mind you, I have like 3 children. There's always going to be toys on the floor at this stage of my life. But this voice is constantly like, kind of, right? Like always shooting me to do something, which is not fun, and really, really interferes with me enjoying my cup of tea on a beautiful evening and watching sunset. So how much pleasure can I receive from the moment if I have that constant voice in my head that's basically running my life? And you can kind of track where this voice shows up in your life and how it blocks you. But for example, for some people, this voice gets really loud when we want to allow ourselves like emotions and feelings, and this voice comes in and says like, "Oh, it's who are you to feel sad? Your life is good, and you shouldn't feel sad, or you shouldn't feel any pain because you're, I don't know, you're not in a war zone right now." So it's constantly dismissing and undermining our experience, which is really painful for other parts of us. So part of this, if you wanna, so the question that I get a lot is, how do I stop doing this? So people start being aware of this voice, start being aware how they're treating themselves, and then the natural question is, okay, well, how do I stop this? I don't want to be doing this anymore. And if you could just stop it, then you would probably just stop it. So it's a little more complicated than that. But at first, but I'll tell you how to stop it. It's simple but not easy, like everything with this work. And it's first of all, you do need to be conscious of it and realize that you have it, and be honest with yourself that you have it, and be really sometimes admit to yourself how you're treating yourself. And that could be that could be really bring up shame, because we all know we're supposed to love each other, but also ourselves. We all know, like, self-love and self-compassion. Yeah, you should be kind to yourself, blah, 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 blah. We have all this like ideas of how things should be. And then when we sit with ourselves and start to face reality of like, okay, how what's really going on inside, then it's kind of hard to see sometimes and be honest that, oh, that's really what's happening inside. That's, oh my God, that's how I'm treating myself. And so one good exercise when you start working with this voice and self-critical relationship, you can just write things on paper and just see what kind of things it said. And I remember when I've been working with this voice, I remember that's kind of like the first thing I addressed in therapy, and that was like what is it, 2009, so 17 years ago. And that was I remember just sitting down and writing things like, oh my God, I used to say like such mean things to myself, like even to the point where it's like you shouldn't exist, or you just like a waste of space. I mean, yeah, things I remember wrote down. I was like, that's like, I would never say it to anybody else, never. And I really had to face that, oh my God, those are things I say to myself. Really, really mean things. But without this awareness, without bringing this awareness and consciousness to this voice first, and really just being honest with what it says with yourself, you can't really make progress. So that's really the first step of, if you want to stop this pattern of being self-critical, constantly shooting yourself, guilting yourself, shaming yourself, then first, I always say like awareness is the first step, and also awareness is like 50% of this work when you making like really conscious and really honest. So good practice would be to just sit down and journal and write down the things that this part says. And then also the second part to this process would be to start, we call it like disidentifying. I don't know, dissociating is not like the right word, but basically a lot of times when people start being aware of this voice, they think they are the ones, they think they are the voice in our head, and they are this inner critic, they are this critical parent. This psychology has a lot of names for it. And then we would say, okay, the person would say, when I hear this voice, I hear it as absolute truth. And then that would be identification, right? I think and I believe it right away. So it's kind of like automatically you just believe that it's true because you think that's you telling yourself this. And so that's the good practice for that will be to start hearing this voice, but start identifying with the one who is hearing this voice. So you just you become the awareness that kind of hears this voice, right? So you stop identifying with this voice, with this self-critical pattern, and you just notice that it's there, but it's not who you are. It's just there. It's a learned behavior, and then you can understand, oh, and then you can start exploring. So a lot of times it's either so unconscious or it's so automatic, then it just kind of happens automatically. It affects your life. It makes you feel bad. But it's also, you just keep doing it. And so when you start being aware or not identifying with it, you can explore. You can say, okay, yeah, I do have this voice in the head. It's not who I am. It's there. It would be like interesting to explore my relationship with it, right? Or like you start building relationship with this voice, because it will actually never go away completely. You'll have activations of this, or certain leftovers. Even if you work through this pattern, you'll have some of that left. It's a protective part of us, so we kind of need it. And so it's not about really like cutting out. I remember some of my clients tried to like, okay, like go away, and really trying to like cut out this part of you from your psyche and like throw it out the window and leave. You can try that as an experiment. Usually what I found, it doesn't really work, because this is also your energy, so it's kind of like you fighting against yourself. Not the most productive thing to do to be at war with yourself. So a better strategy, I think, but again, the best thing you can do is run experiments and see how what happens for you. Because for me, I found, and for some of my clients, the better way is to, okay, acknowledge and sort of listen to this voice, give it space, give it airtime. Like, listen, oh yeah, you really think that? Like, okay, tell me more. And you kind of become this non-reactive, compassionate listener to this voice. That's usually a better strategy to work with it, to start changing your relationship with it, really. Because you want to be in a relationship where you know it's there, you know it's function, you know it's needed, because everything in our psyche is we need it. It's there for a reason. You know it's serving some function. It's probably helped you to survive at some point. It's a protective mechanism. It's a strategy that you have, but it's also not who you are, and you don't have to be a victim of it. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to be controlled by it. You just really you can explore what it does for you. And then you can have a kind of like fun conversation with like, yeah, well, like you are tell me what usually there is and then step 3 or something in this process, usually there's some kind of emotion underneath this self-criticism. So a lot of times it's related to actually feeling vulnerable, and so the self-protection comes in and tries to like it's a protect us from vulnerability. So when we feel it's actually really usually underneath this voice is fear, a lot of fear. So if I'm afraid that something bad's gonna happen, I'm gonna try to manage or control me real bad. So maybe my mind was like, oh my God, this is like extra expense. When in my example with this parking ticket, it would be like fear that, I don't know, this extra expense, and there's maybe like money fear. And now I'm really critical of myself for having this extra expense, because there's underneath that this fear that I'm gonna run out of money, or there's like extra expense that's gonna be, it's gonna be tied to money fear, which is usually a very deep survival fear. So again, if you want to stop, and then another probably fifth step in this process is to really become aware of the pain this part of you is causing it. And this is kind of like when somebody asks me like, well, how do I stop criticizing myself? I like this question that Joe Hudson from Art of Accomplishment uses. He says like, well, how do you stop holding the frying pan, the hot frying pan? How do you drop it? How do you drop something that's hurting you, right? And that's like, how do you do that? It's pretty obvious. You drop it because you're aware of the pain. So when you aware of the pain or the cost of some pattern, you will stop it automatically. You won't have to do any work. You'll see the pain it's causing you, and you'll stop it because you hopefully, well, again, some of us may be masochists, but most of us, all of us have some feeling to ourselves that we actually want to feel good. And if we see some self-destructive behavior, and we can access the part that's wants us to feel good, the behavior or the pattern will stop automatically. So that's probably really the deepest level, is to be aware of how this self-critical voice is affecting you, how much pain, and really feeling the pain it's causing you. Like, oh, that feels so not good. I don't want to feel, I want to feel good. And so I'm gonna stop doing it, and then behavior kind of stops on its own, because you're aware of the cost. So I'm really at this point of my life where I am now willing to do this anymore to myself. And I just went through my own, I feel like has been my process for the last 17 years. It's always been number one thing that I always come back to. You know how when you do this work, I feel like this work goes into spirals. But so it might be the same lesson that you're learning, but each year it's like a deeper level, right? So it never stops. But you go deeper and deeper into it, and it brings up new layers and new levels of your stuff. And so I recently went through another layer of this, like, oh, really self-critical voice came up, really like shameful, and then going through feeling the pain of it, realizing the pain of it, bringing self-love, self-awareness to the pain, and finally saying, okay, I am actually not willing and not available for this to be happening in my own life, and I'm not choosing it. I'm just not. I do believe that then there comes a point where you can choose it and not choose something, and just say, I'm not doing this. I know it's helped me to survive. I'm grateful for its service, and I don't need it anymore. And this voice can help me become a fierce protector, or I can give it some other job. But I'm just not gonna do it. No, I don't want this. It's not something I want to be doing in my life. So I'm wishing you more love and compassion to yourself. And then another thing that people are so afraid that if they let go of this voice and will be more self-loving, they won't achieve more. But I believe that your achievement will come from a different place then. And you'll have to maybe not trust me and experiment and see that there is a natural desire for you to do something and express yourself and do something in the world. It's just not necessarily, you don't need this voice to motivate you. And there's some energy that's already wants to be expressed and be moving in the world. And this is more like a block. This is actually a block. What feels like a motivation is actually what's the block of us to be who we really are, to be authentic and to be the truest version of ourselves. Just really, the authenticity really starts to flourish if you work through this voice and this pattern. So I'm wishing you that, and yeah, and let's see what tomorrow will bring and what I want to be talking about tomorrow. This was, I think, maybe 9. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.